Brilliant. Well, thanks a lot. Quick introduction, Tony Lockwood. I head up the operating partner practice within gunnercooke, which consists of 40 individuals who have predominantly either run organisations, large and small, or been in sort of consultancy, helping organisations to drive change and stuff like that for 10 years and plus. Today we are talking about leadership and you know, how you can talk about leadership in 20 minutes, I don't know, because it can fill up there's so many books and it could fill up whole chunks of weeks to talk about it in any great depth. But I'll try to do my best just to give you 10 very brief tips. I think the first thing I should say, actually, for those who've been on since the start, there's a discussion about dogs. Well, I've got a cockapoo pup. She's I think 9 months now, and so if anyone comes to the door, she goes absolutely mad. So there's my apology up front. Yeah, so leadership. I think the key thing, we're going to talk about 10 tips, but before we go into the tips, the key thing to understand is this thing that's on the screen now. Start with the why. People are inspired by a sense of purpose, and that's your why. And that should always then be followed by the how and the what you do. And I think a lot of organisations, a lot of individuals get that in the wrong way. They start talking about what you do and then how you do it, and never really talk about the why. And the organisations that talk about the why, people like Apple and people like Disney, are massively successful. Simon Sinek has done some amazing, written some amazing books and created some videos on TED Talks. Definitely recommend that you just go onto Google, put Simon Sinek TED Talk in, and there'll be quite an old video now that will come up, but it's very apt. And definitely one to spend sort of 10-15 minutes over coffee later. So just going into the top 10, the first tip, there you go, is focus. So your focus has to be in the right place. You have to have be absolutely clear that your role as a leader is to create a high-performing environment where success is inevitable. So you need to be focusing on the big stuff, the vision and the why. And although it's you know, as a business leader of a relatively small business, it's very easy for you to get pulled into the detail. And equally, when you're in large organisations, it's very easy for people to get pulled into the detail and the granular level of mess that happens in organisations and stuff that goes on. And as a leader, it's critical that you pull yourself up above that and really focus upon the big stuff, because people are looking to you to drive that business forward. And getting into the detail and being pulled into the detail stops you from doing that. So yeah, absolutely focus on the big stuff. Do you want to click it through, Helen, please? So the second tip is really then following on from that focus upon the big stuff, really start to realise that you can never do it on your own. So you've got to build out that team, and you've got to ensure that you realise, number one, that you realise that to achieve extraordinary results is you've got to awaken the possibility in your people to deliver those extraordinary results. You need to operate in a sort of collaborative and inclusive way that delivers results through people and with people. All too often, we find that leaders can, because they've got the understanding and the vision and the real drive, they leave the people behind, and that can only get you a certain way. Usually into a very stressful position, and one where then it's quite hard to turn back on, because you've left your people behind, and then when you go back and try to re-engage them, sometimes can be quite challenging. So really, you need to realise that you can never really achieve anything on your own in an isolation, and you need to take the team with you. Alan, do you want to click through to tip number 3? I think there's sort of 3 key principles for leaders in today's world. You've got to be bold, you've got to keep it simple, and you've got to act with speed. The world's, well, I think we've just had an example of this over the last 3 months, isn't it? Just how quickly the world changes. If you just look back, the last 3 months has been, unheard of. We've never had anything like it. But if you look back over the last 2 years, what's happened, so just in the UK, but globally, the amount of change that's happening around the world and within the UK has just been amazing. So you really need to be very focused, going back to number 1, and really have a clarity of about your role and the purpose of leadership around those 3 core principles of boldness, simplicity, and speed. And those principles then will guide you, and in times of uncertainty, they'll help you to make the decisions and remove that fear and anxiety that we all have at times. So having those sort of guiding principles will help you to remember what you're doing and why you're doing it. Do you want to just click through? So number 4, be authentic. You've got to really understand yourself and be self-aware and have a story to tell. So it clinks back to my initial comment about start with the why. Why are you doing it? And why are you doing the business? Why are you leading the business? What's your driver? What's your why? And once you become self-aware about that, and most people will have a story to tell. They'll have a story about why they started the business and why they joined an organization and the background. And that story is the sort of authentic you. So develop that sort of authentic leadership brand and build on your strengths and have the courage to be vulnerable. So just be you, be authentic. And that sometimes people see that as a weakness, but actually within your team, they'll see that as a strength, that you have the ability to open up and identify where you need support and where you need help. And it'll help build trust, and it'll help you to become much more positive and healthy and happier. And that sort of energy and vitality is vital to really help drive that business forward. Do you want to go on to number 5? So number 5, inspire change or inspire action. So people should be, as we said earlier, they should be at the heart of everything that you do. So you need to really have the courage to go out on a limb and be bold and tell stories and give examples of that ensure meaning and inspire action. And really keep coming back to that why, as we said at the start, because that will start to really drive out real value in your business. And by having that clarity of purpose and that absolute focus and that ability to take your team with you, as well as being authentic, that will help you drive the necessary change within the organisation that will be required to deliver what it is that you're looking to deliver. Number 6. We touched on this a little bit earlier in terms of your need to really build teams, but build them fast, and don't fall into the trap of feeling threatened by your team and your direct reports. I've come across many people at senior level within large organisations that never want to appoint people within their team that they feel are better than them. And in reality, that's the wrong way of looking at it. As a leader, your role, I believe, is to ensure that you've got the best possible team to help you deliver against the vision and the why that that you're driving towards. And if that means that you bring people in that are better able to do certain things than you are, absolutely, that's the right thing to, right thing to do. So surround yourself with the best that you can actually find, and be comfortable with collaboration, and empower your team, and give them the autonomy and know-how to make different types of decisions. And as I say, really start to build that team quickly, and focus on that team and that team development. So be part of the team and grow the team around you. And part of that is to make sure that the people within the team feel valued, and are actually actively playing a part. And equally important, making sure that they are playing in the right position. So I use quite a lot of sport analogies when I'm talking to clients, and if you, and I follow football quite a lot, and if you look at the most successful teams, it's not necessarily it's not necessarily a team of superstars that win things. It's a team that actually understand their role within that team, and where they add, where their strengths are and where the weaknesses are, and they compensate for each other. So that's a critical role of a leader, or in the sporting world, the coach, to make sure that you put that team in place. Number 7, Helen, please. We've touched on it again. We touched on the fact that the world's changing, and that's inevitable. And really, a key role of a leader is to take the lead in that change, and start to look for innovation, and create a culture where everyone's encouraged to come up with great ideas to improve performance and add value to the business. It's innovation or business improvement is absolutely critical, and it has to, you have to have it in every part of the business. So really become a relentless discoverer, and encourage your team to be a relentless discoverer. I think the most successful organizations out there have this capacity to constantly be ahead of the game, and that's because they're constantly looking for innovation. And when you've got innovation, and when you've identified opportunities, build the process that's the innovation process is about failing fast. So they call it fail fast, and it is very much about, let's look at all of the opportunities and try them out, but don't get wedded to any individual one. Make sure that you're testing it, and if it doesn't look like it's going to achieve, close it down as quickly as you possibly can, because then you can really start to focus upon the ones that will go and make the big difference. Number 8. Ambiguity is everywhere, and certainly, you know, in terms of what's been going on over recent months, I think we can all absolutely understand the challenges that this brings, and this sort of uncertainty, I suppose, around the future and the now, really. But you've got to be comfortable in managing ambiguity, because we'll never have all of the answers, and that's okay. So, you know, let's make sure that you look to make the complex as simple as possible. Let's be clear about what we're trying to do. And there was someone, so I was talking to someone the other week, and they were saying, focus on the outcomes, not the outputs. And the difference was, the outcomes are the bigger things. The outputs tend to be, you know, I want an application that will allow me to deliver better customer service to these top clients. That's an outcome. An output would be, I need an application that can do X, Y, Z. And the challenge is, if you sort of focusing on the X, Y, Z, things might happen, and actually ABCs go a bit better. But if you're focused upon delivering X, Y, Z, you know, you miss out on understanding where you need to make those changes. So keep evolving the plans, and understand that actually is a key part of the leadership role, and keep agile. But to do that, you've got to be mentally tough and resilient to deal with a world that's in crisis, as we've found. But anticipate things as much as you can. And when you can't, take action, look at how you can sort of mitigate any risks, and then start to look to the future. Number 9, Helen, please. Educate yourself, educate your people, and help your organisation to learn. Create that learning and development culture within your organisation, and encourage your team to take responsibility for their own education and development. Really only direct when it's absolutely needed. Ensure sort of give the capability and individuals the accountability to make the right decisions, and help them, lead with questions, coach them and mentor them, and develop and nurture capabilities within your organisation. Because as we said earlier, the success of the organisation is not determined by you; it's determined by your wider team, and having them all aligned to a common objective and a common goal, and giving them the strength and giving them the framework and the environment in which to flourish is a critical role for a leader. And the final tip, Helen, please. Yes, this is critical. I think a lot of people, when they are looking to deliver projects or deliver change or drive through a new initiative, spend a lot of time trying to come up with all of the answers, and you never will. And so the critical thing is to execute at pace and be agile, and really start to drive through action as quickly as you possibly can. Because once you start in action and you're starting to move forward, you learn things and you adapt things, and you can actually start to ensure that you get closer to your end point as quickly as you possibly can. So you look to join the dots, and you're comfortable at sort of speeding up, but at the same time equally comfortable at slowing down when the time's right, and very much focused upon keeping control through regular reviews and learning and application of improvement ideas, but at the same time keeping that pace to ensure that people understand that there is a need to keep moving forward. And like, as I said, don't wait until you have all the answers. I was working with an organisation a good few years back, and 2 organisations were merging, completely different culture. One had a culture that was like, we just go out and start, and we're very agile. The other organisation that actually was the one that was taking over the first one was very much we sit back and we plan to the nth degree. And culturally, those organisations found it very, very difficult to come together. Although they both were equally successful, the one that was being taken over, that culture allowed it to be much more agile and take advantage of opportunities far quicker than the other one. And that's really what the second one was looking to acquire, that ability to be agile and deliver at pace. So key thing is to take that first step today and keep moving forward towards your vision, which is ultimately been inspired by your why. So, very quick overview of 10 tips for leadership. I think I managed to get it into that 20 minutes.